Hey, I'm Seth with Land the House. So today, my daughter and I have the four-wheeler here, and we're going to be trying to cut a little path through the woods so we can head up the mountain to where I'm going to be installing a micro hydro turbine. So I'll be hauling things like an intake box and about 1,100 foot of 2-inch poly pipe. So having the four-wheeler should make that process a lot easier. So we need to just clear out a spot here, like this little tree probably should go, and a few other little branches that are falling in here, and then we'll use the old logging road up the way. So I'll go ahead and start work here and show you what it looks like whenever we can take the four-wheeler up there. I've only got 2 small trees to cut, so I think using this saw here should be just fine. Look at them. I just don't really want to crank up the chainsaw for this. It'd be nice if I had an electric saw. The house is right over there. I've got a little branch hanging down over here I want to cut, but our next big task is this tree here, which shouldn't be too much. I'll just make one cut up here and move it out of the way. We just made it to the end of the trail for the four-wheeler up here. I'll film our way back down so you can see what we accomplished. Now, the intake for the micro hydro is going to be right past this little cluster of trees. So I want to just kind of make a straight shot path through here, cutting the limbs down so it's easy to walk up there. My 3-year-old help said that she is finished. So we're about 150 feet away from the intake for the micro hydro. So I gotta just find the best path and kind of clear that away. But for the meantime, it's pretty wide open now for walking back down to the four-wheeler. So that's good. But I'll turn the camera back on so you can see what the trail looks like now for the four-wheeler, which should make things a lot easier getting up here to install for the micro hydro. I'm not 100% sure on the distance, but I'm going to guess around 300 feet from the intake to where the four-wheeler needs to stop. So four-wheeler trail goes on this way. It used to be a logging road a long time ago that went way around the mountain and up the hill, but for now this will get us close to 900 feet closer than I was before, so definitely good. All right, I'll try to turn this camera on so you can watch the trail back down to the house. Yeah.
What trail?
This four-wheeler trail that we made. May get a little bumpy right here. Bump, bump, bump. Here comes a water crossing.
Here's the water part.
The water part. Okay. Let's see how we're gonna do this. It may not sound like much, but having that trail for the four-wheeler up to that spot about 300 feet away is going to be huge for helping out with the install of that turbine. But anyway, last week a bunch of wood chips were delivered here from the guys cutting the trees around the power lines, and I'm going to be spreading that here in the garden space. So hopefully I'll be able to at least get a couple of inches worth on this side over here, and if that's good, I'll start spreading it this way, and we'll use that to hopefully prevent some of the weeds from growing whenever the garden is going good. A friend of mine years ago gave me this 2-wheeled wheelbarrow, and it has been so handy to move stuff like this around. I'm glad I made my garden fence gate big enough for getting in here. Oh, come over here. Yeah. All right, so I've planted those blueberries over here. We'll go ahead and move some of that growth out of there and then dump this around here. So yeah, just making sure it's not gonna be too grown over here. A few days have passed and I've been getting a lot of work done without you. My neighbor has been clearing off a turnaround spot at his house, and he's been bringing some of his topsoil up here for me. So the kids and I spread some grass seed and put the dirt over it, and he's just brought 2 more loads here. So I have a little bit of seed left. I'm going to spread under there and get that flattened out. But I talked to a company called Senninger, and they make a irrigation sprinkler called a Wobbler. The video for the install of this is actually coming out in a couple of days from when I'm posting this video. But basically, water comes into the bottom and it causes this to wobble and spin, and it directs water. It uses like a quarter of a gallon. No, yeah, this I think it was 3/4 gallon per minute at max. But anyway, the install I've got down here in my garden has been working really well. But somebody's up in the sky. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman? Anyway, we're gonna head down here to get a garden hose and just do a little install right here real quick to water this area. In the garden space, I was able to shoot water about 30 to 40 feet. So I'm thinking one setup should get most of this done right here. It may rain some tomorrow, but it'll be 3 or 4 days before it really gets a good rain. So we just want to get some water on this, and I thought ram pump water would be best. I just talked with my local plumber, and the 1,100 feet of 2-inch poly pipe should be arriving tomorrow. Super excited. On that note, I've got a few concrete blocks here. Looks like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe. They're not fully intact, but should be good enough. And then I think I have 2 or 3 down at the flume I can use, and about 6 more over in the woods over there. And I want to make a little house, kind of like what Joe Malovich has for his micro hydro turbine. So I'll be using those. I'm thinking about putting all these together, just dry stack, and maybe use some of those concrete anchor screws just to keep them in place with a 2x4 or 2. But anyway, we'll get to that later. But for now, let's install this sprinkler with a garden hose. This is a very simple sneak peek of what's coming up in the next video, but I'm just driving some of this unistrut in the ground just enough to put a garden hose up against it so we can duct tape the sprinkler to it. Super low tech, but it should work quite well. Let's get this sprinkler. Okay, so Wobbler up here on top of a garden hose with unistrut, and the pressure here I'm going to assume is somewhere around 8 or 9, maybe 10. It recommends at least 10 to get this working, but I think it's going to be just fine here. So let's go turn on the water and see how well this thing operates. Probably should have flushed this hose first before turning this on. There we go. I hear the air getting out of there. Whoa, there we go. Okay, it's actually hitting right about here. I'm seeing some drops. So that right there is about 20 feet away. So I would say we are successfully hitting 40 foot in a circle there. Arrow's getting wet. What do you think about that, dude? So yeah, that's actually going a little too far. So I'm going to pull it down a little bit so it's not going quite as far. Okay, so the water is hitting right here on the edge of the previous grass that we planted. The wind is blowing that way, so you can kind of see it's getting more wet right over there than it is this way, but I'll let that run for a few hours. Like I said, it's only pushing about 3/4 to 1 gallon a minute out of that sprinkler, so it'll have to take several hours to water this little area here. But so this is the Senninger Wobbler, the Excel model. Link in the description down below. But in a couple of days, I'll have the install for the garden space. One wobbler hits a 20-foot radius there for the garden, so definitely works out well. All right, these kids are wanting to hit the swimming pool, which is a little like 4-inch deep water, so let's do that real quick. So I actually bought this pool last year and we never did use it. And then this year, Emma has already enjoyed it a couple of times. And Arrow, we haven't gotten in there yet because it's still a little cool out, but I think he is also going to enjoy this. The wobbler's been running for about 2 hours now, and the circle is actually from right here, kind of cuts in pretty sharp there, goes down to the bigger piles, and then goes way out here some. So what's happening is the wind is blowing kind of this direction, and it's really affecting where the water is going. But the circle is still probably somewhere around 20 feet or so across. So considering that is ram pump fed, I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to be doing actual videos on this product here in the next little bit. And then there's one of the ram pump videos is going to be dedicated to that here in a couple days. But anyway, the kids and I just went to the hardware store to get this pipe for ram pump pressure tanks. They're doing curbside service because of the virus, but we were able to get it, so that's a good thing. I'm gonna go into the shop and make a bunch of tanks. It's 8 p.m., which means this sprinkler has been running for 6 hours, and the wind has stopped, so now we can get a true look at what this is doing. So the edge of the circle is right here, and it goes all the way around. Let's see if I can tell. Oh yeah, you can see where it's been. Look at that, all the way down the hill, over to there. So like right in here, down this way, right there, comes up here. So yeah, that right there, gosh, 40 foot easy is what that's hitting. And it's pretty consistently even all the way around now that the wind has calmed down. Now when the wind was blowing, it was definitely not getting an even spread. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go up to the storage tanks at the top of the hill and see how much water we've used in 6 hours. Now, I haven't tested the flow rate from the ram pump at the top, but the tanks, we've got 150 gallons roughly. So we'll see how full they are, and I guess we'll know if they're if that sprinkler is using that much water per minute. Okay, it's clicking away down here. But I was just filling the tanks, and they're about right here from what I can tell. So they've used 3/4 of the tank on all of them in 6 hours. So I don't know, still looking at 50 gallons maybe. It's kind of hard to tell. But so with the refill rate of probably somewhere around 1/2 gallon a minute, it's used a pretty good bit of water out there. But what I'd like to know is, whoa, slippery leaves. If I were to set up my timer, my Orbit digital timer that has an on-off valve, I could say water the yard overnight for 6 hours, and it would not use all the water in the tank. So that's pretty cool. That's probably what I'll do. Tomorrow I may move this little sprinkler over to the side a bit. Ugh, that's a pretty good hill. That way it can hit the other side of the grass as well. But looks like it's pretty good coverage over here. I may not move it. I may just let it continue to run overnight here and see what it looks like tomorrow morning. But what I really wanted to hit was this little section right here, because I planted that grass last week. And let's see if we can see any little shoots coming up here. Yeah, they're hard to see in this light, but I think that'll be good for them. A couple more things that I've been doing without you. I moved a lot of this mulch here into the garden space. It is really getting a good coverage in there. I still have a lot to go here. So I think what I'm going to do is take a few loads of this over here, or I guess I should call it wood chips, not mulch, but make a path over to the tiny house would be good. And then I may just continue to add a little bit more over here and just call it good. So I think this will be sufficient here to keep any of the grass out. The grape, really no change since it was planted. It got more firm, I guess, when it hit that cold weather. Raspberries are starting to get some little buds here and lots of little new sprigs coming up. Not sure if these blueberries are going to make it that I just planted. We'll see. And this one is starting to really come out, and that one's just starting. But anyway, so tomorrow is Tuesday. Usually it rains, but the weather says it's not supposed to until 4 o'clock. So I think I'm going to end this vlog here and really get to work tomorrow and try to get some stuff done. What I'd like to do is, the other project I've been working on, since I was mentioning that, is up here underneath the playhouse. Let's see, can you even see that? Kind of, sort of. I'm getting some screen installed up here to keep the wasp out. And I think it's going to work out really well. It'll also provide some ventilation. So I've got the gaps up here, and that will be screened in and should allow, like for instance, this one right here is totally screened in with that gap there. So it should let a lot of air flow through in the summertime whenever it is really hot in there. So yeah, I think tomorrow I may start the microhydro series. I'll have the intake box is what I'm going to start with. I've got a few ideas, but I may just have to play around with how that's going to look. But anyway, thank you for watching. I know this video was just kind of little bits and pieces of content, but I'm going to go ahead and end here, and tomorrow try to get a lot of work done. Okay, see you next time. Bye. Tuesday.